What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Mount. It is good to be with you on this beautiful Wednesday night. I think the temp when I came in was close to 70 degrees, which for us here in Ohio, for all of you who are watching out of state, that is a very nice warm day for us. So it is good to have you on the stream. I'm excited about tonight. We have an incredible lineup for you. We got some worship. I'm doing an interview tonight. I'm super stoked about, and so I want to let you know all of that is happening. Let us know where you're watching from. Hop on our YouTube, Instagram, or a Facebook channel. Let us know what's going on. I'm pulling up the streams right now if it looks like I'm distracted. Everyone who knows me well knows that I'm not a good multitasker. So we're excited about tonight. Here we go. I'm pulling it up on YouTube now. This just makes me feel good. All right. Oh, Delaney, what's up, Delaney? Good to see you on there. Kristen, miss you. Good to be with you. Yeah, let me hop on Facebook. Let me see what's going on in the Facebook crowd. See what's going on over here. All right. And we got our live stream cooking. Hey, as you're getting on tonight, we have a few questions for you. A few things we want to know about you. Audrey, what's going on? Alex and Addie are on. They're on FaceTime while watching. That's great. I don't have the capability to FaceTime, but I would love to be invited to that sometime. I'm just kidding. But I'm so glad you guys are watching this thing together. Here we go. Let me get on Facebook. Ah, nice. What's up? AJLNDO Raptor. Who are you? Let us know who you are in the chat, because that's a sick name. I don't even know if I said it right, but yeah, I don't know. There's a great question. Here we go. Let me get it on here. Let's see who's on Facebook. Yep. Got some incredible people on Facebook. We got the Jedice of Matthew, Michelle Denunzio, Erica, soon to be Jedice, but camp for now. Yeah. What is up? Dylan, happy birthday, Dylan. Even though it was yesterday, it was good to, see all that. All right. Hey, we got Jackie on. What's up, everybody? Hey, as you're logging on tonight, we thought we would do a little this or that just to see kind of the temperature. Last week, we discovered who amongst us were soggy cereal eaters, and I felt like that was the most meaningful thing we did. No, I'm just kidding. It was the least meaningful thing we did, but it was important nonetheless. Jaden Reiner, what's going on? All right, that was a good joke. So we have, here's the first this or that. Are you more city or country? Go ahead, write it in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. Are you more city or country? For me, this is easy. This might be the easiest question I answer all night. We'll see, depending on there's another one that's going to be way easier than this. For me, it's city. I mean, depending on, when I think of country, I think of far from things that I love. I think of far from, I don't know, fast food and movie theaters. And when I think city, I think like fun, exciting people, like a lot of people. Like, I'm not even an extrovert, but I don't know. I'm a city guy, I would say, for sure. That's just my thought. So let us know. What are you, country or city? I'm seeing a lot of city up here. Okay. Houston, that's awesome. Houston Flores is country, but stuck in the city. So, yeah, I guess this is an ideal situation. So Houston ideally would be in the country, but you're stuck. I feel you on that. Welcome, everybody who's logging on. We're just talking about it. Oh, Maddie P., you're a country. Jaden Reiner, city all the way. The city is just a little easier. Maybe more expensive, though. If you want some solitude, some great scenes, hop into the country. I know if you grew up with country, I'm sure it's much harder to go towards city. I grew up near a city. I didn't grow up in a city. I grew up near a city. And I would say I love the amenities of a city. So city, country, I feel like that's great. Oh, country for sure from Ashland. Interesting. All right, here's the next one. This is kind of actually related. This is a very geographical this or that segment. Would you rather be beach or mountains? Beach or mountains? This one for sure for me is like the easiest one. I didn't even have to think about this one. I could have said this one in my sleep. For me, the beach is where I want to be. I mean, the mountains, I respect them. I think they look amazing. But like the beach is my happy place. In fact, one time we had to do this exercise on our staff meeting where we visualized ourselves in a place that was just the most completely relaxing to us. It was the place that gave us the greatest joy. And I just, in my mind, I just was in a beach. Not in a beach. I was in the waters, in the ocean, at a beach. And I was just enjoying it. Kristen's, I think, actually, I know what she's going to answer. She's going to say beach for sure. And her happy place when she thinks about it is on the beach with some chocolate ice cream. So that was at least a few years ago. That's what she said. I don't know for sure. All right. Here we go. Let's go to the next one. This one's an important one. This or that, salty or sweet? Do you like salty or sweet? I'm seeing a good breakdown. Let's go back. I forgot to comment. I'm seeing a lot of beach on YouTube. I think, so what I'm gathering is that if you watch on YouTube, you're more likely to enjoy the beach. If you watch on Facebook, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag. Mountain Man Matt Jedice, that does not surprise me at all that you like. I feel like if you have a beard as big as Matt's, there's no way you should be a beach guy. You should totally be a mountain man. And yeah, I'm seeing it. Hey, welcome all of you. Floyd, welcome Susan. Oh, so good to see you guys, Sue. Ben, Ben's a mountain guy. All right, right on. Salty, sweet, what are we thinking? Do you love salty? Do you love sweet? You know, for me on this one, I'd say it's a little bit more, I don't know. I think this one for me is depending on the mood I'm in. So, or the time of day, the setting, the environment, it all matters. If I'm watching a movie, depending on the movie, it could matter. I would say if I had to choose which I enjoy a little bit more, I would say sweet. I like sweets. But I think the good value of sweets is that they come after a good salty meal. So I think there's a little bit of something to both of them. I like this. This is where you just learn from people. Sue said, Bernie said a little bit of, you do a little bit of both. I think that's smart. Michelle was saying the same thing. I'm seeing a lot on YouTube with sweet and salty. Zach Cavens is salty. Michelle D'Annunzio, chocolate-covered pretzels all the way. Well, that's kind of a good mix of both. Sweet from Delaney. Both from Alex. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah. All right, let me see if there's a few more we got here. Okay. I don't even know if I don't even think this is necessary because I feel like I already know your guys' answer, but I'll ask it anyways. Pepperoni or sausage? This or that, pepperoni or sausage? I mean, it feels like an easy choice, pepperoni, but maybe there's something I'm not thinking. I like pepperoni and sausage on my pizza. I think some of you would be saying, I would take neither of those and I would rather just have cheese. And maybe that's where the third, interesting. Some of you are going to probably say, I would take, after all this chocolate-covered pretzel conversation, I'm sure some of it is actually like, I would take that on my pizza. But, okay, Floyd, I respect that. Okay, Brandon, yep, pepperoni, sausage. Yeah, both. Yeah, meat deluxe or whatever that's called. I don't know. That's cool. As we're talking this or that, I want to welcome you to the Mounts live stream. If you're with us for the first time, hey, this is just the Student Ministry of Believers Church, and we've just made it a priority to say, hey, even if we can't gather together in a physical location, we are going to have community, and we're going to make sure that we see our friends each and every week. And so some of us are literally FaceTiming and watching together, and the rest of us were on the chat. So if you're new here, welcome. Some of you who have never been a part of this before, we're so glad you're here. Chat us up. Let us know where you're from, who you're watching with. We're just really glad to have you. I'm seeing a lot of, and we're playing just a little game of this or that right now. I'm seeing, wow, there's a lot of, this one is really interesting. I saw somebody say, oh, nobody said mushrooms, right? I don't think so. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of pepperoni, but actually a solid showing for sausage. Here's the final this or that before we get into the night. Converse or Vans? Converse or Vans? What's funny about this conversation is that in my head, I kind of always assume Converse and Vans are the exact same thing. Like when I think of Vans, I think of Converse, and when I think of Converse, I think of Vans. And I know to some of you that may not be the same. Our production guys they're saying neither, and I think that's because Nike owns Converse. Oh, Converse. Okay, never mind. So our video guy Steve, he's a huge Adidas fan, and just kidding. He's gonna if you see this stream shut off, it's because he just quit, and he tendered his resignation over that. He would not wear Adidas if it was the last shoe on planet Earth. He's a Nike guy through and through, and he found out as he was researching this that Converse is owned by Nike. So Converse for him. I would say comfort-wise, I don't know. I think I'm a Vans guy, but I don't have a dog in this race. I don't have a foot in this shoe, So, I'm seeing a lot of Converse. Okay, Mike, you threw in mountain, both sweet and salty, chicken. That wasn't an option, but that's okay. Vans all the way from some people. Converse. Yeah, that one would be... Oh, Mignon. Mignon has officially gone to cheesy jokes like conversation. Yeah, it's happened. Van's the best. Okay. Bernie. Oh, that's good. I don't know what Bernie's responding to, but he said things you should know before you get married. I don't know if he's responding to the Vans and Converse conversation. That's a good question. Yeah, you should, before you start dating someone or get married, you should probably figure out, are they Vans or Converse? That's the first piece of advice I would give to you. If you think I'm serious, then you must think I give really bad advice. And that's just the reality. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to get into the night. I'm super excited for tonight. First of all, at the end of the night, we are going to be announcing who won our Holy Hype shirt. We did a social media. We did a special question on social media. I can't wait to share with you what the question was. And then we did a ton of you answered, and you gave us your opinion. Some of you got it right, and then you were put into a chance to win it. And I actually know the winner. I have you in my mind who the winner is of our Holy Hype shirt. I wore it last week. Super excited to give it away completely for free. That's going to be at the end of the night. We also have a song of worship that we're going to be doing tonight. And then I have an interview with somebody who is in the military. We're going to be talking all about kind of their experience, some of the things that some of the comparisons they see to the situation we're in now, to some of the intense situations that they encountered. Really, really excited about this interview tonight with a guy named Ty Graham, and so I'm excited to share that with you. But first, we are going to enter into the night through some worship. And so if you're just hopping on, hey, one thing you got to know about our community is that we are in love with Jesus. And you don't have to be in love with Jesus to belong here. But man, we are just so passionate about him because he has transformed our lives. He has given us new life. He's shown us what it's really like to be truly alive. And so one of the things that we do each and every week, whether we're in person in our gatherings or whether we're online, is we just take time to appreciate him, to turn our heart and our attention and our focus to him. And one of the ways we do that is we sing songs and we worship him with our voices. And some of us have voices that really should be filtered through like heavenly auto tune. And some of us, you have beautiful voices, but I will just say this, no matter whether you got a good voice, bad voice, whether you know the song super well, don't know it super well, I want to just encourage you to take some time as we worship together to just begin to see God, because God made this promise. He said, if you come near to me, if you draw near to me, I will be drawing near to you. You can take that to the bank. It's a guarantee. So as we sing this song, let's not just sing it to sing it. Let's sing it to turn our attention, our focus. Let's draw near to the presence of God as we sing the song, to
you
Touch of Heaven. All right, hold on, guys. My bad. Oh, here we go. All right. So, Michaela, I totally messed up your intro. I'm going to start it over. I do this sometimes. All right. So I messed up an audio thing. It's not our guy's fault. It's my fault. So after all that serious stuff I said, now get serious again after I made that big mistake. Here we go. Here's Touch of Heaven.
All the noise dies down. Lord, speak to me now. You have all my attention. I will linger and listen. I can't miss a thing. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender. To live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. And Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Oh, in your love and affection, it's the sweetest of all. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. And all I want is to live within your love, undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. And Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Oh, is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. And Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven.
God, we're so thankful that we get to meet with you, and that's our prayer tonight. Our prayer is that we could experience heaven here on earth. Jesus, you taught us to pray, may your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And God, the one thing we know is that heaven is only good because you're there. It's where your presence is. And so we just ask for more of you tonight, no matter what it costs us, no matter what you have to do in our hearts and in our lives. Help us to know you and love you more. And in turn, because that happens, we pray that we would love the world better. And so may you just be at the center of everything that happens tonight. We're so thankful for all of this. If you agree with that, can you give me a big amen in the chat? Thank you, Michaela, for leading us in a song of worship. Absolutely incredible. man, it's so cool to hear what's happening. Rexford Heater, man, it's great that you might be going to this church with your friend. Congrats, man. We'd love to have you. I know right now we're online, but no matter where you're joining us from, some of you are in our city and you're a part of what's going on. Some of you might be watching from around wherever, and we just want to say you're so welcome here. We're glad you're here. And, man, tonight I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do. I've been, thinking about just different things that can, that we can do together to kind of grow closer to God throughout this time. And one of the things that I think is just really crucial is being able to win the battle of your mind. Like you may not be fighting physical battles right now, but you are definitely in a battle of the mind. And so I think for us, we are definitely trying to help strengthen your mind, your soul, your body, your spirit. We're trying to help strengthen you during this time in a way that goes way beyond this quarantine or the shelter in place. And so for us, one of the things that is really critical is that we just learn how to hear God's word in our lives and learn how to put it into practice. And so tonight with this interview, I'm really looking forward to it. We are going to be interviewing a guy, like I said, who is a part of the military. In fact, I don't actually want to steal any of his thunder because it's such a powerful things that he's been doing in life. And so with that said, I want wherever you're at in the mount, wherever you're watching, if you're at home, if you're on your phone, if you're in your living room, would you just do me a favor and would you just give a huge hand for our guest, Ty Graham? All right. So Ty, I'm sure there are clapping emojis going on right now for you.
You can hear them.
Yeah, you can hear them. Okay, I'm not sure how that works. That's new technology I have yet to discover. But man, thank you first of all for being on the live stream with us, man. We're so grateful that you took some time to be with us. And for those of us who don't know you super well, can you just give us a little bit of a summary of who is Ty Graham, man? Who are you? Do you have family? What's your story?
So the Spark Notes version of it, I guess. So my wife, Allie, and I, we've been going to BC Boardman now for just under a year. Some of our good friends actually invited us to visit, and we fell in love with the church right away. We really love the stuff you guys have been doing at the church, and we're really excited, and I'll be a part of the team itself. I am from the area, kind of live in Columbia County, a little bit south of you guys in Warren. Went to YSU, graduated from there last year, actually. Took a little longer for me to get my degree because I joined the military through that time period, where I served, deployed overseas in 2017 to the Middle East, came back home and found a job as a teacher now. Now I teach history out at Salem High School in Columbiana County. So that's kind of an awesome gig.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me this, which is harder, being in the military or, being a teacher?
I'll tell you what, I told you this a little bit earlier. I wasn't sure I was going to say it, but I'll break it out. In the military, I worked with a lot of infantrymen, a lot of great guys, people who served our country bravely. Love those guys. But I'll tell you what, I teach 8th graders right now, and some of my 8th graders might just be a little bit more mature than some of the guys I work with overseas. Love those guys to death. They would totally agree with me here.
Yeah, right.
So I think being a history teacher is a little bit easier.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, just because you grow older doesn't make you more mature. I am a living proof that age does not have to do with maturity. Okay, so, there are 8th graders right now, but there are 8th graders right now that are more mature than I am. So I can totally understand that. So
I agree, man. I'm right there with you sometimes.
So Ty, man, you grew up in the area. We're so glad to have you a part of our church community and everything, but you mentioned that you went into the military. Tell us a little bit about that. Where were you serving? Like, what did you do in the military? What was kind of your part to play in all of that? What got you into that in the first place? Like, that's a big decision.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a long drop to how I decided to join the military. Ultimately, while I was in college, I just really praying a lot about how to integrate some parts of who I was, basically essential things that made me who I am. And obviously, Jesus takes center stage, but I'm also really proud American. I love this country. I think this country is a great place to live. And I think the idea of America itself is something that's worth fighting for. So I looked around for some ways to kind of integrate Jesus into that passion for service of this country. And while I was looking around online one day at college, I stumbled upon the National Guard. I was in ROTC at the time. I was training to be a military officer, but the National Guard approached me one day and they said, hey, if you join up now, we can help pay for some college. We can get you some real life experience right away. We can get you this awesome job. And the job that I kind of fell into was called a religious affairs specialist. And when you think of the military, you don't really typically think of religious affairs. You don't really think of this job that's a little bit outside the sphere of the normal guys carrying around guns and out there on the front lines. But what I did was I had this really interesting role in the military, one that was really influential, pivotal to my mission. What I kind of did as a religious affairs specialist was a number of things. I would manage some chapel services. So every Sunday and usually Wednesday or so, we have a service at this chapel run by a chaplain, and I would help manage that. I would counsel soldiers through some really tough times. We were kind of the front lines. Soldiers were struggling with issues of separation, of anxiety, just fear in general. They would come to us, myself and the chaplain, and we'd kind of just talk through those things with them. I led some awesome Bible studies down there, provided religious support to soldiers outside of my faith group, which was an awesome experience as well. While we were there, we were serving during Ramadan, and I had to help out some soldiers, make sure they were able to get the things that they needed to worship in the way that they seemed fit.
Wow.
Same thing with our Jewish soldiers. We provided them some awesome materials during Purim, a holiday we just recently passed, actually. Okay. So it was an awesome experience, and learning about some of the cultures of that area and learning a little bit about the way that that part of the world functions and works. It was just honestly a wonderful experience.
And you might have said this, but how long were you there?
I was there for about a whole year, all of 2017. We left in January. We trained up in Texas to make sure we were all ready to roll. It took about a month, and then got overseas the very beginning of February and didn't come home until after Thanksgiving. Wow. So it was a long year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love how you said that. Like, I think sometimes we look at life through categories, like, oh, I love Jesus and I love but we don't, what you did is you kind of said, hey, how can I actually learn how to use these different passions I have to help people? And so I find it really interesting that you help people go through, in some moments, some of the hardest things they had to go through, like separation from their family, right? Like these are challenging issues. And, for you, I'm sure you interacted with a lot of different people who struggled with different mental, challenges, right? So people that are, if they're separated from their family, that's hard. I mean, being away from my family is a really hard thing. And so I can only imagine for an extended period of time what that would be like. But I'm sure there's all kinds of other things that come from people that are in the military, the challenges that they're facing. And so my question to you is, like, were there ever some things that you noticed that helped people, that separated the people that did it really, really well from the people that maybe had more struggles? Like, say somebody gets hit with a mental challenge. Everybody gets mental challenges and things that come their way. What were kind of like the key characteristics that help people thrive versus the people that maybe didn't do as well, that from your experience?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things that stick out when I think about those people who really handled the situation downrange well, and those of us who kind of struggled at times. And all of us inevitably had some better days than others and some rough days compared to that. I mean, for me, there was plenty of tough days, but I just got married 6 months before I got deployed. Wow. So I was thrown into this wild new experience itself, not only just being married early on, but having to navigate that thousands and thousands of miles away. So it was definitely tough for a lot of us. And a lot of soldiers face that exact same circumstances. But when I think back on it, there was definitely a stark contrast between people that we would consider resilient and people that allowed themselves to be defeated. And in a deployment setting overseas, you can really see that clearly. So there's two things that really stick out to me when I think about my time overseas. The first one is one that we kind of all totally get as believers ourselves, right? It's simply being grounded in Christ. Now, because I was in religious affairs, I was constantly working with a lot of religious people. People who had a relationship with Jesus already would typically feel more comfortable seeing myself or a chaplain when things got tough. And the community we form, being in the military in general, you form a really tight-knit bond with one another. But there was another level with those of us who had a relationship with Jesus. You see, it was awesome being able to lean on one another when things got tough, being able to share with one another some of those things that are really eating away at us, the stuff that's really facing us down. And one of the best parts about it was we were able to not only just lean on one another, but we were able to kind of reflect on our own relationship with Jesus and look at our suffering through the lens of Jesus' suffering, which I think could be an extremely profound thing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us felt that in some way we were called to be in that place at that moment.
Wow.
We thought back to our loved ones at home, and that was a really tough thing for us. And we struggled through that feeling of distance. But we were able to stand confidently in knowing that God was in control of the whole situation and that Christ, too, suffered that kind of pain of separation in some extent, but even to a greater extent while he was on his mission here. Right. And Scripture kind of tells us that that same power that got Jesus through the cross is in us. So when we reflected on that, we had a lot of confidence in ourselves and we were able to keep our eyes on the prize.
Wow.
And that was a big one for me. But the second one that's a little bit more on the outside, maybe the faith boundaries a little bit, I think is a really valuable one to think about too. There were those of us who knew why we were in the midst of those tough circumstances. And because we knew why, we were able to weather the storms ahead. See, we had a mission that mattered. We all knew that what we were doing had lasting impacts, not only in our community, but in the world around us, in the Middle East. I mean, these had lasting impacts that could really change the world.
Wow.
We knew that we were serving as a unit, and our unit had a specific job to do. And if we didn't do it, then things would go bad. And we knew how our individual jobs fit in that larger picture. Why we were there individually. And when I think back to this one quote, one of my favorite quotes of all time comes from 19th century philosopher. He wasn't really into Jesus at the time, but I think there's some awesome stuff from this quote. Kind of nerdy about this stuff, so I had to bring a quote in at one point.
I love it.
Here's what his quote was. He says, "He who has a why can bear almost any how." Wow. And there were those of us who knew we were making a difference. We knew why we were in the situations we were in the first place, and we were able to remain resilient. Those of us who lost sight of the why, we really struggled at times. And there was a lot of guys that I could think back on who really lost sight in the mission, lost sight of their role in the unit itself. And it was tough. It felt longer for them overseas than for some of us to really keep our eye on the prize.
Ty, that is amazing, man. I think about those two different factors of resilience. And I want to just ask you one follow-up question on the why thing, because I think that's so critical. And I don't know if I've ever thought about it exactly that way. Sometimes when people go through challenging times, they say, why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? But it almost sounds like you're asking a different why question. Is that the same question? Like, to say, why is this happening to me versus, no, this is like, is that what you're talking about? Or are you saying something slightly different? Like,
I think in some ways it's kind of bringing together the two things that you're thinking about there. I mean, I think that what ends up happening a lot of times in our lives is we like to think about why these external things are happening to us. Why is the world doing this to me? Why am I in this awful and terrible situation? But the why that I think I'm trying to really focus in on is how we ourselves as individuals, why were we in that very specific position? Why were we placed in this world? Why were we placed in this middle of this suffering, in the middle of this terrible time? And what did that mean for us as individuals? And I think in a lot of ways, when you think about the why in terms of yourself and what can you do to impact those externalities that are bearing in on you, it gives you hope. And I'm really drawing out some themes from one of my favorite books. It's a great book, one that I recommend a lot of people read. It's called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's a brilliant book. And as a history nerd, it kind of comes full circle for me because
Okay.
it's all about how this guy in the middle of the Holocaust found a why where he
Wow.
was at,
Wow.
and how he persevered through finding a why in the darkest time in history. I mean, as a soldier, I know where I was at was tough,
Yeah.
and especially being away from my family. But there are people who've lived on this earth who've experienced horrors beyond
Yeah.
what I could ever imagine.
Right.
And the idea of finding a why, I think, is just really valuable for ourselves interpersonally.
Dude, that's so powerful. I'm going to come back to those tough situations in a second, but I was just curious, what's your why? You know?
I'll tell you what, my why is the kingdom. I think it's all about building for what God has planned. I trust God with all my life. I've seen him do things in my life that I know for a fact just glorify him, that have been able to indicate to me how awesome he is. And ever since I've seen those things in my life, seeing God step up time and time again to show his power in my life, I decided that he's why I have to live. So I try to, everything I do, I try to filter through that lens in some way.
Wow.
Now, obviously, there's some side things there. Like I said, I'm a big fan of our country. I think history matters.
Yeah.
Those of you guys are paying attention to history class. I think it's a big deal. But I think everything kind of flows through that. That's part of the reason why I fell in love with history in the first place, is just learning about the history of Jesus. I think it's just such a real thing. God's a God of history, and it's awesome.
Dude, I love that. Bro, you're preaching right now, dude. If you guys are, I can't see the chat right now, but if you guys are in the chat and something he says stands out to you, I want you to write it down, because you writing it down is going to help you remember it better. And some of these things he's saying, they're not just going to help you today, they're going to help you in the future. And, you know, Ty, one of the things you mentioned was, you said, hey, look, can you name the book again by Viktor Frankl? What was it?
Yeah, Viktor Frankl. It's called
Frankl.
A Man's Search for Meaning.
A Man's Search for Meaning.
Search for Meaning. And the whole book's just a powerful book. In the very beginning, it talks about his experience during the Holocaust. Okay. And then after that, he kind of breaks down how he found meaning in his everyday life throughout that experience. And then he was a psychologist, so he kind of breaks that down on the back end. Okay. But the book is just brilliant.
Okay. Well, what I love about that is, and I don't ever want to compare situations saying they're all the same, but, you know, he obviously was in probably the most intense, in my opinion, maybe the most intense situation of the last, 5 millennia. I don't know if there's ever been a more brutal place to exist than where he did. But,
totally
we're also right now in a time that is, for all of our students, completely unprecedented. Yeah. For most of us, I don't know that we've ever experienced anything like this. And I'm just curious, those marks of resilience that you talked about, I could see that applying to every area of our life. But are there any similarities that you're noticing right now between whether it was your experiences overseas, or whether it's just kind of the difficulties that you saw with people, with kind of what we're experiencing now with this quarantine and kind of this COVID crisis and all of that? Are there any kind of similarities that you're noticing, or things that you would kind of be focusing on in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, for sure. I think right now a lot of people are struggling, and I'm one of them, right? This is my first year of teaching, and This is not an easy adjustment for me, going from teaching in a classroom that I loved being at every day to having to teach online and having to try to navigate those challenges. I know a lot of you guys as students, you're probably dealing with that same frustration. I totally get that. And it's a major adjustment definitely for all of us. And it seems to even be getting more complicated the more we kind of move towards reopening the country. Things are going to kind of be shuffled around. We're not really sure how the puzzle pieces are going to fit together. But I think really understanding the why of what we're doing really matters here. That's kind of my big theme here, I guess, if there is a theme to draw out. You see, most of us are kind of healthy, right? We're all doing good. We're young. We're good in the hood. Life's not too bad for us in terms of being able to navigate illness, right? But many of our friends and family and our community members are kind of in the crosshairs of this virus because they're immunocompromised, they're elderly, or they have some sort of underlying condition, right? So when I think about some of the stuff that we're doing in the midst of this, and I try to apply to the why, I hear when we wear masks in public, we're doing it for them. When we socially distance ourselves, we're doing it for those people who are in the crosshairs of this thing. When we miss out on milestones of our lives, really big milestones. Some of you guys are seniors in high school, and you've finally graduated and you're missing out on that graduation ceremony that you were planning on for years and years and years. When we miss out on those things, we're doing it to help keep people alive right now. Well, we figure this out as a society.
Yeah.
And that matters. It really does. There's a why for each one of us through this craziness, and focusing on that can make it possible to bear anyhow.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. The why can help you bear anyhow. Can you say that? What was the exact quote? Because I want to like remember that.
Yeah. The exact quote is, "He who has a why can bear anyhow."
Oh, I love it.
And the quote, it's from a guy named Friedrich Nietzsche. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of him. He's not a big fan of
Yeah.
Team Jesus, but there's some wisdom in that. I think there's really some wisdom in his quote.
Yeah, don't read all his books. You don't need to read all of his books, but
Exactly.
it's a good point. And so let me ask you this, Ty. What have you been learning from this crisis? Like, has God been showing you anything throughout all of it? Like, that's amazing. Like that other focus, the why of serving others. But has God been teaching you anything?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I've kind of prioritized through this is to continue in discipleship. And I have a group of guys that I've been doing discipleship with for years and years now. And we made a point to continue connecting through this craziness, the same way you guys are doing here. And it's awesome. Yeah. And I got to kind of shout out one of my dudes, Shane Danks, who did an awesome job kind of talking about this idea when we had our weekly Zoom Bible study last week.
Love it.
And one thing that he spoke about, talked about as we were analyzing some texts a little bit, was this. Right now, it's an awesome opportunity for all of us to really dig in and work on our own personal relationship with Jesus, right?
Right.
You see, I think a lot of us, a lot of the times, our faith can kind of flow out of other people's relationships with Jesus rather than our own individual ones, right? We lean really heavily on our pastors, our youth leaders, our church leaders, friends, family to really bolster our own walk with Jesus. And they motivate us and keep our eyes on the prize. But in this crisis, we have a lot less access to others than we normally would. Right. We don't have church in the normal sense, but we can't meet up with our friends and family like we did before, back in the day. But I think this one point kind of stands out. That just because we don't have access to other people doesn't mean we don't have access to Jesus. And in fact, some of us have more time on our hands than we've ever have. I know as a teacher right now, I'm teaching at home, and about 4 or 5 hours of my day, I'm answering emails, designing lessons, grading papers, but I have about an extra 2 hours a day where I can kind of sit down and either focus on Jesus or play a lot of Call of Duty Warzone. Right. I've gotten really good at Call of Duty, I'm pretty good at it. And throughout this, I've kind of had to check myself a little bit and make sure that I'm really focusing on my relationship with Jesus. Because on the other side of this thing, if all of us take the time to really develop our own personal relationship with Jesus, when we come back together as a church family, we can all hit the ground running and continue building for the kingdom like never before if we're all equipped with an awesome personal relationship with Jesus that we could really have in this our own individual time studying and praying and worshiping.
I love that. You're viewing the time that you have as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's like every season gives you some new opportunity, and you're saying, hey, what is the opportunity in this season? Well, it's to grow closer to Jesus. And yet we have so many students that have probably grown up in church, but that faith becoming your own is a whole different thing than having your parents' faith, which I'm so thankful for parents who had faith. But
Absolutely.
There has to be that moment where you develop your own faith and you develop your own relationship with God. And so that's what you're talking about a little bit. Dude, I wish I could seriously sit and talk to you for a long time, man. You're really a cool guy, and there's a lot of cool things that I'd love to get to know about. So we'll have to do this off camera sometime, but
for sure.
Dude, is there anything else you'd like to share with our students as we, get back with them?
Yeah, sure. I would say just keep looking ahead through this. I think we could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Focus on the whys. Think about why we're doing the things we're doing. Think about all the hows that we're facing in the midst of all this, missing our friends and family, missing those milestones, but really take time to think about the why. And that can help motivate you through all this time or through this trying time. And also prioritize your free time a little bit. Really spend some time in the Bible. One of the things that I think that's really encouraging to me that I've read a lot through this is Psalms 22. It's the verse that Jesus echoes when he's on the cross that kind of gave him some hope in the midst of his separation, that kind of reflects what's going on the cross there a little bit. I think it's a powerful verse for all of us to kind of think about, or a powerful chapter. And as a teacher, I guess I'd like to say, really proud of you students who are chugging away, learning online. I know it's super difficult. It's hard to motivate yourself every day to get up and log into whatever your teachers are assigning you for that day. But I know myself as a teacher, we really miss you guys, miss having you in class. We're really proud of all the learning you guys are doing on your own. And we're excited to see you guys next year when we kind of get back to normalcy, hopefully.
That's awesome. Ty, it's been a privilege, man. I hope you have an unbelievable night. Shout out to Call of Duty. Remind me, are you a Xbox or PS4 guy?
I'm an Xbox guy, man.
All right.
Xbox all the way.
Well, I'm sure you'll have some students trying to start playing with you now. But hey, man,
For sure.
Really appreciate it, man. Take care. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Hey, have a good night, guys.
All right. Man, I just need a second. Can I just decompress? Because that was awesome. Ty shared some really, really powerful things. And first of all, Ty, I didn't even get to tell you, but man, thank you for serving our country in that way. And so there's a couple of takeaways I have from that. After getting to hear somebody who's had to build some mental resilience and spiritual resilience. I mean, it's not disconnected. The first takeaway I have, and it's the main takeaway I think that Ty really kind of, helped us with, is the why. What is your why? I think sometimes we get so trapped asking, why did this happen to me? And, why am I going through all of this? And sometimes we're going to get answers to that, and sometimes we won't. But man, if you have a why of why am I here? Why did God put me here in this time, in this place? And you got to know, just like he said, God, he has made you for this moment. And he wanted you to be right where you are now. Now, I'm not saying that if you're living a life that's like apart from God, that's God's desire. But God made you in this time, in this place in history. And there's a why behind it. And so if you've never discovered your why, that's something that's worth discovering, because I totally agree. When I have a why for my life, I can go through just about anything. And to me, the foundation of it all was his first point, which is that Jesus is the center. Because if Jesus is your foundation, man, it doesn't matter if you're overseas. It doesn't matter if you're in isolation. It doesn't matter where you are. You have a foundation that is not going anywhere. But check this out. It reminds me now even of Jesus said. He said, it's not the people who just hear my words that are on solid foundation. It's the people who hear my words and put them into practice. And so during this time, man, you could know all the Bible stories and you could know every miracle Jesus ever did, but are you putting into practice what he commanded in your life? Because if you do, we know that that's going to be the firm foundation no matter what comes your way. I was also moved. I thought that was a really powerful story. I think when he mentioned, or not story, I'm sorry, but when he was talking about, what we're going through right now with COVID, even how he talked about serving others, I think is a huge part of understanding tough situations. If you're only focused on yourself in the middle of a tough situation, which I totally understand, like the constant struggle for all of us is that whenever something happens, we're always going to think first, how does this affect me? And that's just normal. That's part of life. That's probably how you can survive and not, in a lot of situations. But I think what Jesus challenges us to do is say, hey, how can I serve others through this? And so if you're in the midst of a struggle, you need to have that solid foundation of Christ Jesus in your life. You need to have a why in your life, and you need to have that ability to serve others. You need to have that ability to love others. And man, I just love it. It's truly amazing to hear from people who have experienced so much. And Ty, I think, is definitely in that category. He's helped so many different people. But yeah, even what he said about Jesus understanding suffering, because Jesus went through suffering, and that helps us understand. Like, you got to understand that whenever you're going through a difficult time, maybe you're not literally, on another soil, in another nation, in another country, serving or protecting your country, but you might be battling an invisible threat. You may be battling some kind of depressive thought or anxious thoughts, or you might be battling all kinds of different things. And I just want you to know that, man, Jesus knows what it's like to go through those intense moments, but he was willing to do it because he loved you. And in those moments, he promised that I'll be with you. I love how Ty said, he said, the same power that got Jesus through that is the same power that's alive and at work within you when you have God in your life, when you have Jesus in your life, when you've been born again. And so, man, I want to encourage you, if if you have never, ever built your foundation of your life in Jesus or on Jesus, your life's going to be like sinking sand. And I just want to encourage you that when you come to Jesus, that's when you find the ultimate why. That's when you find the why that can get you through every situation. But it's just this life that is truly lived. And so, man, Ty, thank you so much for sharing with us. Teachers are going, they're having to kind of learn new things, everything with everything that's going on. So I know, teachers and students are kind of in the same boat with that. But hey, let me just pray, and then we'll kind of we'll put a bow on the night with some fun stuff. Okay, so God, thank you so much for what you shared through Ty, and I just pray that you would help us discover our why, help us to build our life solely on Jesus, and help us to see how we can serve others. I'm just praying that would help us to become more resilient than ever before. I'm praying for mentally and spiritually and physically strong students who are not just on the defensive. They're not just trying to survive, but they're literally taking ground for your kingdom in this city, in their region. I just thank you that, God, you are doing a work through this time that will last far beyond this time, that we were born for this moment, we were made for this moment, and that you're going to show us why. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Man, I love it. I love it. And I'm seeing a lot of comments. I didn't get to, as I was on the chat, I didn't get to see all of them. But, man, thank you guys for being a part of this. I want to announce we have our giveaway, and so throughout the week we created a trivia question, and here was the trivia question. It was really deep. The trivia question was, how many years separate Kristen and myself? So my wife Kristen and I, how many years apart are we? There were 4 possible answers. The first answer was 1, second was 3 years, 5 years, and then 7 years. And those of you who answered correctly, then you were eligible to win. You were eligible to win our Holy Hype shirt. It's our newest merch drop that we were going to drop on Dodgeball Night, and then it took a turn. And so we have been sitting on these shirts. We've been wanting to get them to you, but somebody's going to get it for free tonight. And so I actually, we have a winner. I was not the one that did the draw here, so I just want to make sure I get it right. Yes. Okay, so our winner of the contest in the free shirt, the Holy Hype shirt, is, drumroll please. Is there a drum emoji? Go ahead and do it if you can. The winner is Lacey Demert. Congratulations, Lacey. We're excited for you. In order to get your free Holy Hype shirt, here's what we'd love for you to do. Go ahead and message or DM us. Let us know your size. I want to make sure I get this right. And your address so we can send it to you. And these have been sitting in the office, so they're clean, but go ahead and, wash it yourself too if you want, just to make sure. But man, we're really excited about it. And we can't wait to be back together. That's what I want to say. So guys, I'm just checking the messages real quick. I'm checking the chat. I'm excited about what's happening. Seeing a lot of great dialogue on there. Man, it's so cool. I see just people getting ministered to on YouTube, and there's so many cool opportunities. Hey, I want to let you know that if you're somebody who you're interested in connecting deeper, we have leaders on these chats who are there to literally help you. And so if you're interested in learning more, if you want to connect with Jesus better, follow us at Paramount OH. You can DM us and let us know, hey, I'd love to take my next step with Jesus. I feel inspired by what we were talking about. about. I see it happening on the different chats. So we're really excited for you. DM us. We'd love to get in contact with you, and we'd love to be able to help you take your next step with Jesus. Guys, with that said, I'm going to sign off here, and I'm super excited about what's ahead. Thank you guys for loving Jesus so well. I'm excited for what's ahead for your generation, and I believe that the best is yet to come. And so with that said, I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Peace.